Okay, so earlier in the show, we spoke a little bit about the University of Michigan basketball and how when you looked at the University of Michigan and compared them to some of the other teams, not only in the Big Ten, but in college basketball as well, you said to yourself, wow, Michigan and Juwan Howard have done a phenomenal job, especially compared to expectations. Well, I'll give you a team that has done the exact opposite of that and is, in my opinion, actually one of the more disappointing teams in not only the Big Ten, but really in all of college basketball, and that is Archie Miller and his Indiana Hoosiers, who took a bad loss to Purdue on Thursday night. And with that loss, Archie Miller is now 0-6 in his career against Purdue since he's gotten to Indiana, and also 0-4 at Assembly Hall against Purdue since he's been to Indiana. And look, I understand that when you look at the Indiana Hoosiers, we all get the fact that this is not 1985. This is not Bob Knight out here coaching the Hoosiers. This is Archie Miller. And the Hoosiers over the last 15 to 20 years, I think we're all going to agree, they have lost a little bit of luster as a program. They are not, the same Indiana that had the same fanfare back then. They've always been a team with big-time fan support. But when you look at the Indiana Hoosiers, they're a squad that isn't out here recruiting like Duke or Kentucky or anything else. And I feel like even with that being said, if you are a fan of the Hoosiers, that doesn't mean that you should not be absolutely disappointed with the way this team has played over the last couple years. And when you look at the Hoosiers, this is a squad that lost to Purdue 81-69, and it's unfortunate because Indiana, going into this season, I thought that there was a legitimate chance that this could actually be Archie Miller's most talented team and the team that had a chance to be the most successful. And by the way, that was before I knew that my guy Armaan Franklin would be one of the most improved players in college basketball and really help out Indiana as a team. He had 14 points against Purdue. He was their second leading scorer. He played 33 minutes. And let's keep in mind that this guy is coming off an injury. He did everything he could to try to help the Hoosiers win. But besides that, watching Indiana play against Purdue, they just looked soft. And that was a problem. And when you look at the talent level between these two teams, you saw Trevion Williams out here balling out. You saw Sasha Stefanovic go out there and hit a couple big threes. And even some of the young Boilermakers, Jaden Ivey and Zach Edey and Ethan Morton and Mason Gillies, these are all guys that going into the season, I don't think a lot of people necessarily expected for them to be a big-time member of the Purdue Boilermakers at all. But at the same time, they've done a really good job going out here and contributing as a surprise. And I feel like when you look at the Indiana Hoosiers, yeah, Armaan has been pretty good, but at the same time, looking at this Hoosier squad, besides Armaan, there have been way too many disappointments. And to me, that is a problem. And it starts at the top. Archie Miller needs to be a better coach because this is not the first time that Archie has been out-coached by Matt Painter in a big game. And when you're at Indiana, you totally understand how much it means to get the best of Purdue and how much it means to win that rivalry game. And unfortunately, the opposite of that happened the other day. And it's bad because Purdue owns Indiana, especially at Assembly Hall. And Archie Miller, before this season, I was a defender. I was someone that believed last year if the NCAA tournament would have happened, Indiana would have made it, and maybe the pressure would have been off him a little bit. But at the same time, that was a bad loss. And I don't get how Indiana could just never, ever have a team that shoots the ball. And I understand this is not news to anyone who's been following Indiana since Archie Miller took over the program, but this problem has been a big issue, especially when the Hoosiers match up with Purdue, which has built its offense around big men that draw attention, like Trevion Williams, and then they kick it out to shooters. Why can't the Indiana Hoosiers be doing that? That is what, for me, I really don't understand. And the loss on Thursday to Purdue was the most recent example of Archie Miller's failure to provide this program with enough players that can make shots around a star frontcourt player in Trace Jackson Davis. Indiana shot 3 of 18 from threes, and Purdue shot 11 for 17. That is a problem. If you don't make shots, you don't win. Indiana's defense was also soft. Indiana went 5-2 in the non-conference portion of their schedule, and their strength was defense. They were playing like a tough team. I don't know what happened to that. The Hoosiers didn't give up more than a point per possession in any of their non-conference games. In 7 Big Ten games, and I understand how good of a league the Big Ten is, 6 of Indiana's opponents have scored more than a point per possession. Only 2 of Indiana's 7 Big Ten opponents have scored fewer points per possession than their average thus far in the league. And that's a problem. And when you look at this Indiana Hoosier team, here's the other thing. They don't shoot free throws well. Getting to the free throw line was not a problem for Indiana against Purdue on Thursday night. However, they did not show the ability at all to do anything with those free throw rate. They couldn't take advantage. They're shooting 67% from the line, which is 11th best in the Big Ten. And if that trend holds, it would be Archie Miller's 4th straight team to shoot under 68% from the line in Big Ten play. Each of his previous 3 teams finished 11th or worse in free throw shooting in league play. That's a problem. And Indiana, watching them over the last couple weeks, they have not been ready to play. And if this Indiana Hoosier team doesn't make the NCAA tournament, I don't think that Archie Miller would necessarily been fired. But at the same time, I understand why these Hoosiers fans are all of a sudden a little skeptical. And the job security is one thing. That's the 6th straight loss to Purdue. And when you look at the expectations at Indiana, I understand why that they're a little upset, that the Indiana Hoosier fans are a little upset, because as tough as a league as the Big Ten is, expectations are big in Indiana. And when you sign up to be the head coach at Indiana, that is obviously one of the big parts of this job, is getting your team ready to play each and every night. And the Hoosiers, watching them against Purdue and watching them many times throughout the last couple of years, not only have they not been ready to play, but at the same time, they just are getting outcoached each and every game. And for me, that is a big-time problem that needs to be adjusted. In Indiana, they are a really talented team. They have a lot of names that I think could be pretty good. But guys like Armand Franklin, guys like Rob Finney, guys who have been in this Indiana basketball program for a pretty long time are just not getting the job done. That is my problem with the Indiana Hoosiers, and I believe that when you look at this whole situation, they need to be better. They are too talented of a team to be doing this. I remember watching Indiana this season, early in non-conference play, in Maui. They beat up on a solid Providence team. They beat up on a solid Stanford team, and still, with that being said, since then, they have not been able to win anything. Archie Miller is now 63-49 at Indiana, which is fine. That sounds all right when you're looking at it on paper, but 29-36 in the Big Ten. For me, that's a problem, and that needs to be fixed fast, because right now, the job Archie Miller is doing is not getting the job done. What about Christian Lander? You guys remember the hype this kid was getting out of high school, and he was supposed to be the next Romeo Langford, the next Hoosier that does everything well for this squad, and really a highly ranked recruit that could be able to get the job done? Well, he hasn't been doing anything as of late. He cannot even find his way on the floor. And it's funny because when you look at Romeo Langford and everything that went on during that season at Indiana, I remember saying to myself, okay, that was a little bit of a tough situation. Does Indiana look ready to play in a lot of these games? No. But at the same time, it was Archie Miller's first year at the helm. And also at the same time, these Hoosiers, they had no choice. Romeo Langford was treated like a golden boy, and the fact that he just committed to Indiana, that really, in a lot of people's mind, just gave him the ability to do whatever he wanted with that program. He was the guy, but that Indiana team didn't win games. Nonetheless, they didn't even make the NCAA tournament. And the one quote from Matt Painter that I really liked, he said, when Travion Williams keeps things simple, he's tough to deal with. When he tried to get cute and do some other things, he doesn't help his cause. He might make every shot, every blue moon that way, but I thought in the second half he did a really good job. I was impressed with that quote from Matt Painter. And for Indiana, look, Trayce Jackson-Davis played very well. He had 25 points, and it's clear that Indiana is doing whatever they can to try to build the offense around him. And here's the other thing. Archie Miller said, I thought they played with edge, with a lot of confidence, and shot the ball extremely well. We did not have an answer offensively, and we played poor on defense. To be honest, they could have done whatever they wanted offensively because we had no answer other than in the last 8 minutes of the first half, and I really agree. Indiana was not tough, and they did not come ready to play at all against Purdue. And in a rivalry game at home where historically you have just not been able to beat them, Indiana needs to be better. Indiana has already lost some Big Ten games that, to be honest, I would not have necessarily expected them to lose. You can't lose to Northwestern at home when you're playing in the Big Ten. You know, this league is so hard to get wins at every single time, and you can't be going out here losing to Northwestern at home, even losing to Purdue at home. Is Purdue a good team? Yeah, but when you compare them to some of the other teams in the Big Ten, Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, teams like that, I don't think that is necessarily going to be the hardest game for you to win. And still, with that being said, Indiana was just flat out not able to get the job done. And if I'm a Hoosier fan, I would not be very happy about that. The way this team has been playing over the last couple weeks, they need to be better coaching-wise. They need to be better personnel-wise. And here's the other thing. Not only do they need to be tougher, I think Indiana needs to take smarter shots. They have to realize that until proven otherwise, we are just not a very good three-point shooting team. And that aspect of our team has to get better if we want to improve and if we want to win games. And I think when you look at this Indiana Hoosier squad, that is exactly what they're going to have to do if they're going to want to win games. And it's super unfortunate that the season has started off this way because, once again, I really have been an Archie Miller defender since he's gotten to Bloomington. Indiana is a tough job. The expectations are very tough. But all of a sudden, I am really starting to turn on Archie Miller and the way he's played because this Hoosier team needs to be better. This Hoosier team needs to be tougher, and this Hoosier team needs to play smarter because if not, they are in big, big trouble. And it's not getting any easier. If this Hoosier team doesn't make the Big Ten tournament and they fire Archie Miller, I'm not going to kill them for it. Personally, would I do it? No, but Indiana, that job, it comes with expectations. And there were many Hoosier fans that wanted Chris Holtmann instead of Archie Miller. We've seen the job that he's been able to do since he's gotten to Ohio State. It's been one of the better coaching jobs we've seen over the last couple of years. And I'm curious to see how Archie Miller responds to this. Indiana was supposed to play Michigan State on Sunday. I don't know if it was for better or worse that game got canceled because of COVID, but maybe Indiana just needs to regroup and they better get things fixed fast.